Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. I want to welcome all of you to our presentation today. And what a presentation it's going to be. I am Frances Maxwell here in Arkansas, USA, and I'm excited. I'm excited that I have been given the privilege and the pleasure of hosting this special training. And before I introduce Dr. Chris and Tina to you, I'd like to share with you some benefits that I personally have experienced with the StemRenu. I have taken the product from day one, and the one benefit that I really am grateful for is the feeling of peace, serenity, and balance. And this has really helped me recently in the unexpected death of our daughter. You know, the StemRenu has helped me and my husband during this very stressful time. And I know we would have experienced a lot more mental turmoil and stress if not for this great product. And I mention this because I know that there's others that experience grief, and this product will help them a great deal. So I thank Dr. Chris and Tina for that. I know there are a lot of testimonies that we've seen since the product has been available. I'm a retired nurse who's worked in the operating room for many years, and I've seen many surgical procedures. And I realize now, probably with StemRenu, many of those could have been prevented. But at this time, I'd like to introduce Dr. Chris and Tina. Dr. Chris, I'm sorry, I'm trying to get the slide. Okay. Neuropathic physician and sports nutrient. Has advanced certifications in herbology, nutrition, dark field microscopy, and a degree in neuropathy. He is a member of the American Academy in Anti-Aging Medicine and is the author of an international best-selling book, The Nature of Healing. Tina Johnson, AHNC, is an advanced health and nutritional consultant, ND candidate. She is the founder and host of the Alternative Health TV and radio show, producing over 250 programs on natural health practices. Tina is also double certified as an advanced natural health professional. And with that, I'd like to present Dr. Chris and Tina.
Thank you so much, Frances. So good to be with you, and thank you for that warm introduction there.
Yes, and Frances, thank you, and for sharing your story as well. It touched all of our hearts, and for us who have formulated StemRenu here, Dr. Chris and I, we couldn't express our gratitude for you sharing that. It's just so amazing. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, we've got quite a story to share with you here today. This is a great product that's helping change people's lives. I know we're excited about bringing it to you. So, Tina, you want to get started and just tell them a little bit of how we worked with StemRenu?
Sure, on the next slide. So, in our practice, you know, we had a practice in Minnesota for many, many years, and our focus was about finding the best nutrition, and our focus was helping to understand our clients what they were deficient in. In other words, if they were deficient in calcium or they were deficient in antioxidants, maybe we could replenish those deficiencies and it would address an imbalance and help the person to feel better, and help their body to even maybe somewhat get better with joint pain and those kinds of things. Well, we saw many, many things in our practice, and one of the things that we did is we worked with our family, and we have a family member. Many of you heard us talk about Uncle Richard because he's been so important for us in this next step of what we have discovered with renewal science. Well, we worked with him for years on replenishment, and he was diagnosed with Parkinson's, so he had tremors. He was very embarrassed. He didn't like to go outside. He became very reclusive. He was on 7 medications. And yet he didn't progress because we worked with him on replenishment. He didn't progress as fast as the doctors thought he would. But he was still very, I guess, depressed would probably be the best word, and anxiety. So what happened is we worked with him when we discovered regenerative nutrients, and that's what we call renewal science. So we introduced to him StemRenu, and because of the ingredients in StemRenu and because of the replenishment he had in his body where we were working on deficiencies, it was the whole piece of the puzzle. We were able to get him to not only have his tremors stop, but we were able to reverse a lot of the symptoms that he had experienced by going to the root cause of what was happening in his body, activating stem cells that were dormant, and he's now bowling, golfing at 75 years old. He has a girlfriend. So this is the difference between what we call renewal science, where you're working on activating this stem cell system that we have in the body, and it works with all of the different systems, versus just trying to figure out what is missing in the body and trying to replenish.
So true, Tina. You know, you're just speaking about the evolution of nutritional science. You know, we started out with isolated nutrients some 50, 60 years ago, then realized that it's better to get these nutrients from your foods. And now we're finding the superfoods, the functional foods that are really therapeutic. And that's what we put together in StemRenu. So if we switch to the next slide, we'll see here how when we take a look at what's causing accelerated aging, this is a Japanese study that we refer to that shows the measurement of all these elderly individuals between, you know, 4 categories, 85 to 100, 100 to 105, 105 to 110, and 110 above. You know, we have this biological potential to live a long, healthy life well beyond 120, we feel. And the key to the study, though, is it revealed the #1 predictive marker, the underlying cause between the differences between the 85-year-old and above 110 was inflammation. And this is an incredible marker to determine how fast you're aging. And what we've done with StemRenu is that we've incorporated all 5 ingredients facilitate this reduction or the control of this inflammatory process in the body, so that it's there when you need it at its best, but also isn't chronic and destructive, that accelerates the aging process. So Tina, you want to share a little bit more, and we'll get into these ingredients.
Yes, to help people understand what inflammation is, it's like having a wound or something going on inside of us. It's like a fire, okay? And we can have silent inflammation for many, many years before it actually shows up and flares, before we realize we have inflammation. There's so many different causes of inflammation. There's emotional stress, physical stress. We have digestive issues from our poor diet. We have high insulin levels that can happen. Medications can cause inflammation, imbalanced hormones, and then, of course, what we're all talking about now, and that's our environmental toxins and the overload of chemicals in our society. So on this next slide, let's talk about those 5 ingredients.
Well, there's certainly, from the best parts and the best understanding we have as far as understanding how to get good nutrition, we have organic or wild-crafted foods, and what that means is that they're the most pristine and most nutrient-dense that we can have access to. And each one of them is specifically deals with the accelerated aging process of inflammation, but beyond that, there's also that renewal dynamic that exists with them.
And these 5 ingredients look very, very simple. We're used to seeing aloe vera, the egg, you know, marine minerals, green tea extract, and the shark cartilage. But what makes them so unique and so different is how we extract them. They're extremely potent, and we do not denature the proteins when we extract them. So we keep those proteins alive, and that's what makes it therapeutic. Right. And it's synergistic by the combination of these ingredients, and they're also balanced, which is very critical.
Mm-hmm. And that's really key, Tina. The proteins are still in their functional form as far as giving instructions, and also the biological sugars are there to enhance this communication between the cells. So with all this cellular communication going on, we can take a look at the next slide and see what that means. Because what we have here is just a graph on the left side that's telling you what really you're missing out on in life if you don't understand how to just take care of yourself with the quality foods and nutrients we have available. Right now, we think that you live to your 80s, you're doing well, and if you stay healthy that long, that's a pretty good marker. But you know, what's programmed in our genes and what's the biological potential. We all can be 120, actually 150 or more with the quality of life. And that the one factor that we're seeing that's most determinant of that, what's causing this accelerated aging, is the ability to tamp down this inflammatory process and also to signal to the cells, to have the cellular communication at its peak the way it was when we were in our youth. And a good example is to take a look at the picture of the two hands. Imagine this is the same person. And as a baby, the skin cell of that hand can regenerate within 2 weeks. And the skin cell of the 80-year-old hand, the same genetic information, the same instructions in that cell, they take anywhere from 12 to 14 weeks to regenerate. So you're seeing everything slowed down. The collection of waste, the ability to regenerate, repair, and renew, all has slowed down because the signaling has been reduced. And that's what we're introducing. StemRenu, if anything, can be said to be the most incredible formulation for increasing the signaling properties of the body.
Right, and when you look at the left at that graph, we focused in that blue area up to the age of 80 on replenishment science. But now that we've added in renewal or regenerative nutrients, that can pull us out to age 120 or higher at a very healthy age.
Okay, let's see what happens when we have that signaling going on. What's so key is the signals between the cells is critical to life. And the most important signal is to the stem cells. The stem cells are very fascinating in their ability to regenerate and repair. And the other thing is that they replace themselves. So they're a very unique primitive cell that has the ability to, if you see on the left, reduce inflammation, enhance the immune response, which defends and protects us and regenerates us. And that stem cell has the ability to turn into any other type of cell in the body. All the different 210 different types of cells that exist or more. You're looking at becoming a muscle cell, a liver cell, a kidney cell, brain cell. This is the ability of this primitive cell to differentiate into these other tissue types, and why conventional science is spending billions of dollars researching stem cells and regenerative therapies. And the real key here, Tina, is that that stem cell not only makes another type of tissue for repair in the body, but replicates itself and goes back into a stem cell pool. So your stem cell bank is replenished every time.
And that's what creates longevity. The more stem cells we have in that pool that we can activate, then they can do the healing, the repair, reduce inflammation, but then they can also replicate again and again, pushing out our life to 120 or 150. Now, what's also interesting here is that when we're talking about tissue, now this is where we have a stem cell, and we send signals now because we have regenerative science. We can, our nutrients, we can send a signal to our stem cells that have been hovering around somewhere in our body, and they want to repair, a knee, or they want to repair something going on in the heart, but yet they don't have that signal. You take StemRenu, the signal gets reintroduced back into the system, and the regeneration can happen because now that connection is made. It's like a telephone making a connection and telling that stem cell what to do. But here's another key component, and that is that let's say you have healthy heart tissue, and yet you have somewhere in the body that actually needs improvement. Your healthy heart tissue, they're now proving out that it will convert to a stem cell within the body to be able to be sent to another area in the body.
In the heart, yeah.
In the heart, yeah, another area in the heart, thank you, to do more regeneration. So the key point in all of this is that our bodies are a miracle. We give it what it needs or what it's missing, and it will do the job. And what are we missing at the age of 21? Pre-embryonic signal proteins that we reintroduce back into the body with StemRenu.
Boy, you're just making big waves here with this information, Tina. It's at the cutting edge of science, and what's so neat is to see the validation with our formula. It has the ability to de-differentiate, in a sense. So you're taking healthy tissue as well as taking stem cells that exist in the tissue and you're organizing them and you're creating more stem cells or whatever's needed for the circumstances that are traumatized. So if you look on the next slide, you'll see what this looks like inside the cell. These are cross-sections of the cell. And you see on the surface are all these receptor sites. And these receptor sites receive the signals, the hormones, the enzymes, the signal molecules. So on top of these purple and yellow receptor sites sticking out of the surface of the cell, you get this information. And we all know there's different types of signals, but the key signals are the ones that regulate the immune response and regulate the repair and activity of the stem cells. So this is what's specifically in StemRenu. And then when that information hits this receptor site on the surface of the cell, it goes inside the cell. And here's where the instructions for repair or destruction or to regenerate or to create another cell, whatever's needed at that specific area. So we're looking at a holistic science of mass communication that goes on, and we're looking at 100,000 signals per second per cell, and you have trillions of cells. And fortunately, we don't have to think about doing that, or else we'd be awfully tired. But we can do this naturally, and we can do it more efficiently by increasing those signals, because we age by the loss of these signals after age 21.
Exactly. And one of the questions that we get is, you know, is there stem cells in StemRenu? And the answer to that is no, there are no stem cells. You have the stem cells. They're just waiting. They're hanging out in the body, waiting for those signals. And it doesn't matter what age you are, you can activate more of those signals to help you with that regenerative nutrient that's in StemRenu to assist the body in its own regeneration and repair.
And why Uncle Richard's, instead of his having a chronic condition that was continued to go downhill, could regenerate and repair. Absolutely. So his tremors went away. I mean, if you saw him today, 6 years later, you wouldn't even know that he was diagnosed with, tremor disorders or Parkinson's.
Right.
So on the next slide, let's get into the specific ingredients and how they work, because not only are we introducing these signals, but we're facilitating the body's own manufacture of stem cells. And this is key because it takes the organization and the creation of these stem cells to create youth and longevity. And the marine mineral complex that we use is the only plant-sourced mineral complex that has been clinically shown to regenerate bones and to reverse the degenerative process that age creates, and what so many people worry about with osteoporosis and bone degenerative diseases. You can't turn on TV without looking at a commercial that talks about some type of bone medication, to stop this breakdown. But what we have validation for with our marine mineral complex is that it has the ability, with 97% bioavailability, meaning that your body will use 95% of this nutrient, to regenerate your bones. And guess what? Your bones are where you have your bone marrow in the big bones to where your stem cells are created. So you're rebuilding the stem cell factory for your body. And
do not get yourself confused with all the different calciums that are on the market. There's calcium in our milk. There's added calcium in all the different foods. You can see that on all the shelves. What's important to know is that this is bioavailable, like Dr. Chris mentioned. So even though we're over-consuming calcium, we still have this rise in osteoporosis and osteopenia, and that's because we're not absorbing, we're not utilizing that calcium, and that excess calcium in the body can actually be harmful if you're not getting a bioavailable.
Exactly, it just deposits, so when you get too much of it. So it's being able to use it.
Yes, and it causes that word that you said earlier that starts with an I, inflammation. So this is why you want to have this particular calcium in your system.
Well, on the next slide, we're going to see that now that we're building up the stem cell factories in our bones, and we're able to signal to the tissue how to activate the stem cells that are already there, here's a key component. It's the release of those stem cells. And that's done by mostly immune response signaling. And we've got one of the most powerful forms of immune modulation with the aloe vera gel extract that we use. It's not whole leaf aloe, it's the gel specifically that has the ability to turn on or turn off this whole inflammatory response. It's an immune modulator. If it's going too strong, like in autoimmune diseases, it tones it down. If it's too weak, like in the areas of infectious diseases or abnormal tissue like cancers and things, then it has the ability to boost the immune system, immune response. So one of the ways that this incredible plant has the ability to do that is by regulating this stem cell release where necessary. And what do stem cells do? They they control inflammation. They facilitate the body to make any other type of tissue. So you're looking at this incredible orchestration that's going on with StemRenu, the ability to make more stem cells and direct those stem cells, and also the ability to release them where appropriate and necessary for the body to regenerate and repair.
And this is also critical, the aloe vera, for those glyconutrients that help rebuild those receptor sites on all of those trillions of cells that we have in our body. And remember, we want those receptor sites there so that we can receive those signals and keep that stem cell factory, that stem cell system going in the body.
What good's the signal if you don't have a way to receive it?
Exactly.
So it's going through the airways. So in this next slide, here's what no one else has really been able to capture and add to those first two components we talked about.
Exactly, and this is the fertilized, incubated for 10 days hen eggs from Norway. And what's really key about this is the unique signal pre-embryonic proteins that activate the stem cells that start to decline rapidly in our bodies by the age of 21. This is where, when we introduced this to Uncle Richard, we had been working on replenishment with the other ingredients, but when we put this ingredient in, all of a sudden, the regenerative capabilities of these signals to direct those stem cells completely helped him reverse some of the things that were going on in his body. Now, why do we get this from Norway? Well, we're the only ones that source this from Norway because of the clean, pristine environment. That is critical because we do not have to vaccinate our hens in Norway 12 to 22 times like you have to in the United States.
Because of all the diseases and the mass growth of
the farming practices. Exactly. All of the farming practices here in the United States and in many other places around the world. So we get to use a very clean, pristine egg. And then from that extraction process, which is proprietary to Norway, through that extraction process, they can flash dry that without high heat to denature those proteins. Anything in the United States needs to be heated a little bit more, and it does denature some of those proteins. So here you get the full spectrum of what we call those signal proteins, those pre-embryonic proteins that then can help direct those stem cells.
Exactly, and this is why we showed the ingredient slide, the key components that allow for the signaling to go on. But let's go back to Norway. On the next slide, let us introduce you to the egg producers, because this couple has just done a yeoman's job on just their ability to maintain the quality control, the happy hens, the busy roosters that are doing this incredible work to manufacture these eggs. Here you see them with us on the right side, sitting at a lounge table where we were all in Hong Kong, and they were introduced to the NHT crowd.
We were there at the 15th anniversary.
Exactly. And they got to see what a wonderful family we all have with this company and the ability to introduce this new technology, this renewal science. But
and then on the left, you're going to see that the girls are coming out in the morning. They go in at night, but they come out into the fields in the morning. And, you know, they're pasture raised, they're out in nature, and, you know, our egg producers, they pride themselves on, you know, organic and being one of the first organic farms and the longest standing organic farms in Norway. So on this next slide,
Yeah, you've heard of the horse whisperer. He's the chicken
He's
whisperer.
the chicken. We call him the chicken whisperer. Yes. So on this next slide, when we're talking here, excuse me, about this slide, the avian egg and stress. Now, no matter where we go in the world, we ask the audience, how many of you have stress? And 90% of the people raise their hands in the audience. And it's not about having stress. It's about having extreme stress and how do you handle your stress. And one of the things that StemRenu does with the egg is helps you to handle stress better, because it actually, when you can handle stress better, and there are tests proven for this, your cortisol levels can come back into balance. And when we have accelerated stress in the body, when we have excess cortisol in the body, we accelerate aging 10 times faster, breaking down our collagen, throwing off and disrupting our blood sugar and our pH levels. It also, this excess cortisol steals and it robs our body of our energy levels. And then it also causes us to create this crisis, where we're excreting hormones in the body, and it's too much, and we start to gain this fat around the belly in order to protect the body. So when we can reduce our cortisols or handle stress better, you can see how we can slow down that aging process as well.
Especially the youth hormones that get deprived when you're making cortisol. Then you're not making DHEA and estrogen and testosterone and the progesterone, all the things that we need to maintain our health and vitality. So the stress hormones, when they're accelerated, the adrenaline and the cortisols, they break down the body unless you have the ability to mediate those. And this is what was learned over 20 years ago when the first studies were done on how the egg extract used in StemRenu has the ability to mediate stress, to bring it down. And we have studies done at the University of Colorado that showed that athletes that were put through heavy stress training were shown to reduce their stress levels by as much as 47% measured with their cortisols. And then science really appreciates when the same study can be replicated, and this was done again in Germany, and their results were even better. They had a 50% reduction. So when you can show the ability to handle stress by as much as 50% more than you're able to in the present day, you have something that's so remarkable. It allows your body to repair faster. It allows your body to maintain all these regulatory functions that Tina mentioned, like the sugar balance and the pH. So,
but the other thing too is we know our stress is not going to go away. Especially our environmental stressors right now, with all the chemicals and things that we have accelerated in our environment, and so we have to be able to handle that stress better, and that's what StemRenu does.
Exactly, the chill pill.
It's the chill. Yes,
we've heard that from a lot of people.
The chill pill.
Okay, on the next slide, just to emphasize some more of the key benefits, what you're looking at is an equation where if you can reduce stress and reduce inflammation and increase stem cell activity, you've got the key to longevity right there.
And so many people are stuck in what we call this inability to sleep, a cycle that keeps them from going into that deep, restful sleep. Now, we need that deep, restful sleep because that's when the healing and the regeneration happens. So if we're not getting that deep sleep, we need to make sure that you're taking StemRenu long enough so that you can break that cycle for sure. And that's one of the key benefits we see usually very quickly, is that people are able to go into that deeper sleep. Why does this happen? When cortisols are high, and Dr. Chris was talking about all our other hormones are low, one of the other ones that continues to be low is melatonin. We can't get our melatonin up if cortisol is up. So as soon as we unlock that cortisol cycle, cortisol comes to its natural range and melatonin can come back up. That allows us to go to bed at night and get into that deep, deep sleep.
Right, and we're finding out more and more about melatonin. What does melatonin do? It unlocks the clock genes. What are the clock genes? the things that help you digest better, to help you sleep better, to help you facilitate your metabolic functions. So all of these different regulatory genes that we lose with age come back again because we're bringing the body back into balance as if it were in its 20s. And we just can't tell you enough about all the different stories that we've heard about individuals that experience the benefits of StemRenu.
Including promoting faster recovery, especially for athletes. When we have someone who, or somebody that has a hard physical job or labor, you know, when they take StemRenu before they have to exert their physical stress and afterwards, they are able to recover so much quicker. We talked earlier about how it supports joint and bone health, and this is because of the marine mineral complex, and it has been proven to actually reverse bone density issues to help you with better bone density. And then we also see a lot of increase in energy and endurance. Now sometimes we don't see that right away with the energy because the body, when it wants to do healing and repair, or if you have silent inflammation or anything going on within, StemRenu is going to go to work on that, and it's going to use that energy to do that healing and repair. So don't be surprised if you actually are tired or you need to go to bed earlier. Do it. Listen to your body, because after you get through that phase, you will have a new level of vitality.
You do. You come back so much stronger and more vital. So if this is doing all these wonderful things, how much can I take? Do I take the whole bottle? I mean, will it work faster if I do that? On the next slide, we show you that really the recommendation on the bottle is 1 to 2 capsules a day, and this is just for your maintenance. But because it handles stress so effectively, and all levels, physical, emotional, and mental, we recommend that, according to your stress levels, take 1 or 2 capsules a day. But if you have more stress that day, or you feel a little under the weather, or you need a little extra support, don't hesitate to double up or triple up on it, because you can do very well. These are foods. The most important thing to know that this is safe. These are foods that have been consumed for thousands of years, and we recommend it for children as soon as they're on solid food. So anywhere from 2-year-old to 102, StemRenu.
Exactly. And for children, the biggest question is, how do you get children to take it? And because of the live proteins and the live signals, we want to put it in a food for the child, but you don't want to put it into a heated food. You want to put it in a cold food, like a yogurt or an applesauce, and go ahead and open the capsule, put it in there, and mix it up. And then they can consume the food, and they will experience the benefits of StemRenu.
So, Francis, we just so appreciate this opportunity to share what StemRenu does, but we don't want to forget, on the next slide, we introduce it with all of NHT's products, and the reason is because the products that we've had the chance to meet with the other formulators, and these are just incredible individuals that want to give back to our culture so much in the health sciences, that they've developed formulas that have all the unique building blocks to regenerate and repair. And StemRenu is the architect that facilitates your body to use those building blocks more efficiently and more effectively. So when you combine the two, you have the best in replenishment science and the best in renewal science, which we showed you earlier in that graph. So you've got the whole picture, and you're looking at some of the most powerful nutrition to support you and to get you younger, to get you stronger, and just to face, the lions and tigers that are out there that we have to deal with.
All right. So I know that, Francis, there were some questions.
Yes. Yes, I have a couple of questions, and this is your presentation. Every time I hear it, I learn new things, and I'm soon going to be 80 years old, and I'm looking forward to living to be 120 years old with this product. So, and the questions is, I'm sorry,
Francis, you are doing so well at 80. You're an inspiration, and everyone needs to find out what your secrets are.
Well, they learned one of them today, StemRenu.
Yes.
Right. And also mental attitude. Like I said, I never realized how old I am until, I happen to think, well, I'm 80 years old. Wow, how did I get there? But the questions I have with you have to do with telomeres. And there's a lot of talk about telomeres and the enzyme telomerase, and what are they, and does StemRenu address them?
Well, good question. And, you know, regenerative medicine is at the forefront right now, and part of those billions of dollars is to study how cells age and what's the triggers. And the telomeres are the little caps on the edge of our genetic material, the chromosomes. And they essentially are like a little time capsule that every time the cell replicates, a little piece of that telomere wears off. And what's interesting, inside the stem cell, which is a very unique cell, is an enzyme that repairs those little end caps, those time capsules on the ends of our genetic material. So you see, when we have the ability to activate our stem cell response and to build the stem cell factories in the body, we're facilitating the body's ability to make new cells, and new cells give you brand new telomeres. And therefore, the ingredients in StemRenu, like the very unique aloe vera, will facilitate the activation of telomerase. But also, a lot of, when you look at the stem cell reproduction, you don't even need to be focused on telomeres because you're making new cells instead of rebuilding or repairing the old ones. So you're getting the best of both worlds with StemRenu, the ability to facilitate the telomerase repair with some of the ingredients, and also with the some of the other ingredients, the ability to just make brand new cells through the stem cell system.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. You know, the other question I have is, StemRenu assists in the helping the cells to communicate again, and I have heard about re-dox signaling, and does StemRenu have re-dox signaling molecules?
Sure, sure. Well, that's just one of the many, many ways the body communicates. And these redox signaling pertains to the oxygen cycle, where you reduced oxygen versus increased oxygen. And that is so critical because oxygen is what the body needs to make energy. I mean, it's part of the whole process of making ATP, the energy component in your cells. And the ability to have this furnace that goes on that creates this energy, to not have it be too strong or too weak. So this redox potential is what's so critical to handling that. And you're looking at these micronutrients, these nanoparticles that are found that are essentially minerals or partial ions that have the ability to do this redox signaling. And that's found in our marine mineral complex. It's found in our aloe vera concentrate, and it's regulated actually by our egg protein. So you have the whole picture, not just the small redox potential that exists, but you've got the full spectrum of orchestrating from the highest levels of the immune system, the nervous system, and the endocrine system to the lowest levels of the cellular communication that goes on within the cytoplasm, within the tissue of the fluids within the cell, and the communication that needs to go into the nucleus, the genetic material. So you see an incredible physiological orchestration that goes on at the lowest level of the cell and its internal workings, and the highest levels of our systems that regulate the body.
So we have redox plus. to just give you the bottom line here, we have redox plus 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 plus.
Well, I love it, Tina. She can say it in one sentence what I've just been espousing for the last 10 minutes. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Well, I want to thank both of you for taking the time out for this recording. And, you know, there's so many interesting and exciting things about StemRenu, and hopefully everybody will watch this as many times as I'm going to. And I'm sure they will, that, you know, it's a wonderful product, and we need to get the whole world on this product. And once again, I want to thank both of you for the time that you have spent with me today and the presentation. And this presentation will be on the STEAM team site, probably under products very soon. So once again, thank you, Dr. Chris, and thank you, Tina.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Francis. Great being with you. Great job.